Hey guys, Tom Moran here with a much overdue update on my communals. Again, I apologize for the lack of updates lately. I am a teacher, I am back to school, and a lot of it's been getting ready for the new year. So unfortunately, at the end of my summer vacation, I start my lesson plans, doing things different this year in one of my classes. So I had to kind of start from scratch at a couple places. Reports, a lot of stuff, but it takes a lot of my time. So unfortunately, I don't get to do as many uploads. But as I start falling into the groove of being back into school, you can expect more regular uploads, usually once a week or so. I'll try for that twice a week, but I never seem to make it. So what's going to follow is our updates on my balfouri communal, which everybody's been asking about. Some interesting developments there. Poecilotheria metallica communal, and what was the incei communal, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. I have a bunch of stuff backlogged that I have to get done. It's actually getting overwhelming. I think I counted and I have 24 videos that I've shot that I need to put together somehow. So I'm going to be working on that. I just got some black widows in from my buddy Torpedoes and Tarantulas that I'm incredibly proud of and can't wait to show off, and I got to mix that in there as well. Plus I'm about to place an order for some scorpions, so I'll have to do something with that. Whew, lot to do. So I'm going to try to play catch up in the next couple months before the holidays come in and get some of this stuff out there. It'll be interesting because some of these things I'm referring to the fact that it's incredibly hot, and by the time I get them up, it'll probably be wintertime and people will be wondering what the heck I'm talking about. So I'm going to stop talking right now. We're going to get into this update, and then I'll be back at the end to do my little send-off thing. First up, I feel like we should cue up some romantic music. Here are two of the balfouri from my communal, and as you can see, they're being a little more than just friendly here. This platonic relationship has bloomed into something a bit more romantic, or at least the male seems to think so. So, as you can see, I do have another male. For those of you that have been following this communal, I had the original male molted out, the first male I had molted out within about a year, which was very, very fast. And I assumed when I didn't see any other males that the rest were probably females, but you know what they say about assuming. And I was wrong. We had another male who is huge. He has to be, I'm going at least 3/4 of an inch bigger than the original one. So he molted later and was much, much larger than the original male, which I found interesting. I've noticed now with a couple different species. I had a T. ockerty mature male that was about 3 inches long, or 4 inches long, and then another one that ended up molting that I thought was a female. I didn't even check the molt on this one because I assumed it was a female, and it ended up being about 7 inches long. So huge difference in size. But as you can see, they're starting to get it on a little bit here. Now, I don't think he gets penetration here, but which sounds horrible, but I do have to suspect that he's probably trying his moves on all the ladies in the tank, and I'm a little worried we're going to have lots of little balfouri babies pretty soon. My son, actually, we took the background off because it was me and my son just talking about this and how the fact I really ideally don't want to have to pull a bunch of babies out of here, but something everybody's been waiting for is what would happen if they had babies, so we might get to see it. Now, again, I haven't been catching them out very often. I will say they have been super reclusive for the past several months, right through the winter. And I do expect, and anybody that keeps a balfouri communal or balfouris, they usually disappear with the colder, drier winter months. They seem to sense it when the thermostat starts dropping and you get the drier weather because of the heat and the fact that it's wintertime. So they'll disappear for a while then. But they carried right through the summer, which I found odd. They haven't done this before. So they are very, very reclusive. If you want to catch them out, and if I want to catch them out, what I really have to do is get them right after feeding. So what I do is I feed them at night. I kill the lights in the room, and you come out. And the other day, we actually caught 6 of them out. Have not seen the remaining 8 all out together. Remember, I'm assuming the original mature male died over the course of the winter. Never found any remains of him. Not sure what happened to him. Maybe he tried this, and the female wasn't receptive. Who knows? But as you can see, they went on like this for quite some time, and again, he didn't seem, you can see if you look down low, his emboli, he hasn't unfolded it or anything, so I don't know if this was just a courting ritual. I have caught them a couple times doing stuff like this, but the females haven't quite been receptive. At least they're not munching him. I guess that's a good call, but you can see he's just about the same size as the female, so I think they're a little intimidated by his assertiveness. So anyway, they are doing great at this point, although I don't see them a whole heck of a lot, which is why I haven't featured them in many videos lately. I will try to catch some footage of them out and about in the next feeding. I did catch a little bit, but I'm going to leave it off this video and save it for later, just because I thought it would be fun to just talk over two spiders mating the entire time. It's something that I don't get to do very often, and is a lot of fun. So there they go. They're about to break this up in a couple minutes, and I will obviously keep people updated. I'm not going to lie. Every time I feed them now, Billy and I are in there with a flashlight. You can see the tunnels from the back of the enclosure. I'll have to get footage of that the next time I take them out to feed. But you can see inside the tunnels, and I don't see any little babies yet. Now, again, these were two different sacks, I believe, of M. balfouri, so it's not necessarily the same bloodline, and although I wouldn't continue to allow them to quote-unquote inbreed, this first round will probably be okay. I will probably end up pulling all the babies out, which will be a bit of a nightmare. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, you guys will be the first to know when something cool happens, because I think of all the stuff I posted on my channel, this is probably the most popular. And for those of you just catching this for the first time, no, not all spider species are communal. The Monocentropus balfouri are honestly considered to be the best communal species because they get along great, but as you'll see, there'll be a couple more communal species, or species that can be kept communally, coming up, and with varying degrees of success. Next up are my Poecilotheria metallica communals. Now, one thing we realized is originally I thought there were 10 in here. I think there may be 11, and I actually talked to Tanya at Fear Not Tarantulas, and she said they kind of lost track when they were packing them up. So I'm thinking there's probably 11 because I counted 11 twice, and it wasn't a molt, I don't think. But there we go. This is about a week or so after the original housing where I got them all in, and you can see that they all put on a bit of size. One thing I have been noticing with them is they are growing faster than the first one I got and kept by itself. First one I got for my birthday about, oh gosh, 4 years ago, around 5 years ago. And that one was a very slow grower. It was timid as an eater. It was one of the few I had that would not eat for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden start eating again. And that usually doesn't happen with tarantulas. Usually they eat until they're full. But this one was a bit meek. I had to put smaller prey in until it got to be quite large. But you can see these guys have all molted once. There's some molts down there. And most of them are putting on a great deal of size, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But one thing I have noticed, there has been absolutely zero fighting over the food. They do interact. You see these two in the corner. When they run into one of their other siblings, they will kind of feel out with their front legs, and there's been no friction, no fighting whatsoever over anything. I did catch two of them feeding on the same roach once. Unfortunately, as soon as I clicked the camera on and the light hit them, they scattered because these guys are a little light sensitive. And here we can see them. This was just last week, so about a month and a half, 2 months. I'll correct it in the comment, but it's been quite a while. And as you can see, a huge size disparity between some of the specimens. One of them I measured at 1.75 inches. The smallest is about an inch and a quarter, still quite tiny. Now, there's been no friction at all between the larger specimens and the smaller ones, and this is something I wanted to see for myself because I have heard from several people that have kept Poecilotheria communals that you're going to end up with some big pigs and you're going to end up with some teeny tiny ones. And there's one of the teeny tiny ones down there, and as you can see, he or she is much smaller than the one that's up on the cork bark right up there. I mean, look at that. That is a huge size disparity. But again, they have not been preying on the little ones. I do keep a steady flow of roaches in there, and you can see some of the roaches later on. I'll show them again. But a lot of them like to hide behind the cork bark, and if you come in the morning, they're all out and about, and they go and scatter behind that cork bark there, and I'm going to try to get some footage of them all behind there. The problem is as soon as I hit them with the light, some of them tend to scramble. But they're doing great. Most of them are doing great, putting on a good deal of size. There are two huge ones that, again, are pushing 2 inches, and there are two super tiny ones. Now, what will probably end up happening, and what I'll probably end up doing, is when I rehouse, I will take out the tinier ones so that they can get more attention and better fed by themselves. But there you can see, I've always got a steady stream of roaches in there. Anytime I see it getting lower, I don't see any roaches, I drop more in, so there is no shortage of food. There has been absolutely no fighting. They're all getting along great. We just have some really fat ones and really small ones. But again, there's been no friction, so I don't see them stealing food from the little ones. There you see a little one reacting with a big one, no issues. They're just not eating as much and growing as fast. They're kind of growing more at the pace that my first one did that I kept solo. Now on to the N incei, Neohalothele incei, and there we can see this is about 2 days after, 3 days after I first housed them. Right up front in the foreground, there are actually two of them feeding on the same roach, and one of them is upside down, burying its underside, while the other one eats the roach kind of on top of it. I was panicking, thinking they were going to get to the end of that roach and attack each other, but it didn't happen. In the background, there's another one eating a fat roach, and what I did to start is I pre-killed, or basically crushed the heads of several roaches and threw them in there and let them go ahead and find them on their own and eat. And basically, most of them found a roach to eat by themselves. Now, one thing to mention, we started off with 5. Unfortunately, one of them never ate, despite the fact that the rest of them were eating well. I killed a couple things, dropped it right in front of them, it ran away, and it eventually crawled up and died. It was not consumed by one of its the other N inceis in the communal. It was not cannibalized. It just died on its own. It just wouldn't eat. I don't know what the deal was with that. But the other ones were eating great and growing very, very quickly. It was kind of a lot of fun to watch them get along. Now, I did start them in a smaller enclosure. There's been a lot of debate whether or not it's better to crowd them together or give them more space. And I have some theories on that coming up in a moment when we get to what eventually happened with this communal. So there they are eating, and here they are now. Now there's the original container, and as you'll see in a moment, there are the other 4 containers because they are all separated. And here's what happened. I went to go rehouse them into something larger. I talked to a couple people. They're like, the way to go would be to rehouse them now, give them their own space. And within 2 days after feeding them, I caught 2 of them locked in a death match. This was the guy that was attacking the other one. You can see they're starting to show the adult colors now. They were literally trying to kill each other. So I managed to separate them, and both of them appeared to be okay, although I thought that this one had a good bite on the other one. So far, so good. They're both alive, although the other one hasn't been eating particularly well. Now, some observations. Since separating them, it's been a few weeks now, they are not eating anywhere near as well as they were before, which I find very interesting. When they were housed together, I would drop prey in. They were right on them eating. Now I drop prey in. They're batting it away. They're ignoring it. I had to pull out a dead one the other day, and it was one that had molted a week before, so it should have been hungry. So I'm definitely noticing some differences in the feeding responses. Now, I have a theory because a lot of people report that they do much, much better when kept with the mother. If you have an egg sac, the mother has a sac, and you keep them together. And I'm wondering that if in the wild, because they stay together, they're less exposed to predators, but that means they're more likely to prey on each other, because the people that have kept the communals, even the ones where they kept the egg sac with the mother, have reported some cannibalism. It's just tough to discern when you have 100 and something slings whether or not they're eating each other. So I have a theory that the cannibalism, although they live together very, very well, and they do live communally in the wild, that cannibalism is part of just what they do. They're not going to eat each other until there's only one left, but they will prey on the smaller ones. And I'm wondering if that's what you see here. And obviously it's made to appear even worse when there's only a handful of them, because it's easy to discern when you're losing one when there's only 5 to start with as opposed to 90. So just a guess, just my theory. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, first 2 communals are doing great. The N incei, that's one that, again, it's one of the few species that we've actually seen living communally in the wild, but I am left to wonder if that's just not part of what they do. Yes, they live together, but they're going to eat some of them. You have to figure if they're all crowded together in one spot, there's going to be less predation from other animals because they're not scattering out and about and making themselves vulnerable. So you got to wonder if maybe part of the survival is just munching on the weaker ones. I don't know. And again, it's one I've kind of held off doing a communal with for quite some time because I have heard mixed responses about how well they work out. And I've heard some great situations with smaller enclosures, some bad situations with smaller enclosures, and then vice versa. I've heard great situations when you start them in larger enclosures and vice versa. Who knows? It still sounds like the best way to do one of these communals would be to get a mother, have her have a sack, and leave the sack with them. You're going to get some cannibalism, but you probably won't notice it as much because there's so many slings. This gnat in here is driving me nuts. I'm going to kill it when I'm done. So anyway, I will probably be using that section of my Facebook channel, there's a page where I can post stuff up. I've done it before. And I will probably put together a few videos and let people vote on which one I should put up next because there's just so darn many. Even today, I got one of my Piorata sitting right over here, just molted. I'll be rehousing it later, and it's looking gorgeous. I want to do an update on that. I have a Bumba Caboclo that just molted. There's just so much going on, and this whole shelf behind me will likely be different the next time I shoot one of these because I'm redoing all of these shelves and doing something like what's over here, and I'll do something with that. there's just not enough time. So thanks so much for watching. And for those of you that, look for consistent content, for being patient with me. Again, it's tough sometimes because I just get into these things where I'm working and I don't realize how much time has gone by. So for those of you that have been patient with me and haven't been shooting me emails asking if I'm dead, I do appreciate it. So with that said, if this is the first video you've ever watched and you want to check out more, you guys know the routine. They'll be around in here. And if you liked it so much you'd like to subscribe, thanks as always. And you can click that right up there. Again, I love getting comments, and part of the problem is I spend a lot of time doing comments. I think I have 30 to answer after I get done with this and before I post up the next video I'm editing, so lots to do. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you guys all next time.